Welcome back, children. So coming to today's chapter review, it will be on electromagnetic induction. So coming to electromagnetic induction, okay, here we will get numericals related to Faraday's laws. Okay, look at the main parts of the chapter. Okay, so we should concentrate on the questions related to evaluating induced EMF by making use of Faraday's laws. Then questions related to identifying the direction of induced EMF by using Lenz's law. Then motional EMF and its energy considerations, self and mutual inductance of a solenoid, self-inductance and mutual inductance. Then at last, AC generator. Okay, eddy currents, its uses, advantages and disadvantages. I am not explaining you again because from there it is only theory bits which you are going to get. Okay, so we will concentrate on how numericals will be given or related to all these 5 different concepts. So let us start with the first part now, the Faraday's laws. Okay, now coming to the statement of Faraday's law. Okay, what was the Faraday's experimental observation? After doing a number of experiments, he finally proved that a change in magnetic flux d phi by a dt, magnetic flux, can induce EMF. I repeat the statement, rate of change of magnetic flux will induce EMF. And according to Lenz's law, we give a minus sign here. What does that minus sign indicate? The minus sign says that the direction of this induced EMF will always be such that it opposes the cause that produced it. And we have already studied Lenz's law is in accordance with the conservation of energy. If Lenz's law fails, conservation of energy is going to fail. So that is the reason we give a negative sign. So coming to magnetic flux. Okay, tell me what is magnetic flux defined as B dot A, the number of field lines, magnetic field lines passing through a given area. Or if you write it in integral form, it is integral of B dot ds. Okay, and when you remove the dot product, we can write it as B into A into cos theta. Okay, where theta is the angle between B and A, it is a scalar quantity. What will be the SI unit for it? Tesla into meter square, or simply we call it as Weber. Okay, Weber and Tesla meter square are SI units. Whereas coming to CGS unit is Maxwell. What is the conversion? 1 Maxwell is 10 to the power minus 8 Weber. Okay, this is your CGS unit. Now just now I told you, according to the Faraday's law, EMF induced is equal to minus of d phi by dt. So what are the different ways in which you can change the magnetic flux? Since flux is B into A into cos theta, if you have to produce a change in magnetic flux, it can be changed by varying the magnetic field, by changing the area of the coil, or by changing the orientation of the coil. So related to this, we will be getting some numericals. Okay, let us look into one question for each model. Okay, how induced EMF can be calculated by changing magnetic field, by changing area and by changing the orientation. Okay, look at the first question, okay, based on evaluating induced EMF. Okay, it is given that there is a circular coil, okay, of 50 turns. Number of turns is given as 50. Some number of turns is given. Is placed in a magnetic field. Okay, what is the direction of the magnetic field? It is directed into the plane of the paper. Okay, it's placed in a magnetic field, and the magnetic field is changing at the rate of 1 Tesla per second. And it is given that this magnetic field is not constant. It is varying at the rate of 1 Tesla per second, and it is mentioned that the field is decreasing. It is decreasing at the rate 1 Tesla per second. And you are asked to identify what will be the induced EMF if its area is given as 10 centimeter square. Okay, this is your given data. So the first question, number of turns is given, magnetic field is changing with time, and we are asked to evaluate the induced EMF. So go according to the Faraday's law. What is induced EMF equal to? Minus d phi by dt. Okay, minus of d by dt of, we know flux is B dot A, and if you have n number of turns, include that n also. N into B dot A into cos theta. Tell me what is angle between magnetic field and area vector. Field is into the plane of the bore. Area vector is perpendicular to the plane of the bore. So what is the angle between them? 180 degrees. If I take the area vector outward normal, field is into the plane of the paper, then theta becomes 180 degrees. So that is minus of d by dt of n into b into a. Cos 180 is minus 1, I will make it plus. Number of turns is constant. Area of the coil is constant. And field is changing with time. So what should be your induced EMF? N into a into dB by dt. That's nothing but number of turns given as 50. Area centimeter square, 10 centimeter square, convert into meter square. Rate of change of magnetic field is 1. So what should be your magnitude of induced EMF equal to 5 into 10 to the power minus 2 ohms, or 0.05 volt will be your induced. Second question, in the previous question magnetic field was varying and we have evaluated the induced EMF. So in this case area is going to change. Okay, again I am taking a circular coil, okay, whose radius is given as small r. Okay, number of turns is 1. It is placed in a perpendicular magnetic field of capital B. Okay, magnetic field is given as B. And now the question is, if this coil starts shrinking, okay, if the radius of the coil starts decreasing at the rate dr by dt at a constant rate, some value will be given, I am keeping it as dr by dt. Okay, is it increasing or decreasing? It is shrinking. If it is shrinking at the rate of dr by dt, what is the induced EMF? Now tell me, how will you evaluate induced EMF? It's minus of d phi divided by dt. Okay, minus d by dt of, I am writing it as b into a, cos 180 minus 1. Area vector I took outward, magnetic field is inward. Minus of minus, it will become plus. D by dt of b dot a. Magnetic field is constant, so it comes out. Is it rate of change of area of the coil? What is area of a circle? Pi r square. Differentiate this relation. Magnetic field is B, pi constant. Differential of r square is 2r into dr divided by dt. So when you write it as 2r into dr by dt, so you can get the induced EMF as pi 2 pi r into magnetic field into dr divided by dt. Okay, you will be given what is the radius, initial radius, and at what rate it is decreasing. So this is how you can identify the induced EMF. So in this question, what is changing with time? It is not the magnetic field, it is the radius which is changing with time. Third question, orientation is going to change. So if the same question is given, okay, a circular loop of wire is placed in a perpendicular magnetic field capital B, okay, whose radius is r. If this is rotated through 180 degrees, okay, what do you mean by rotating through 180 degrees? Okay, initially the normal was this side. Now you have rotated the coil through 180 degrees. Then what is the change in magnetic flux? If I write the initial flux as B into A into cos 180, okay, cos of 180 degrees. After rotation, final flux is B into A into cos 0. Okay, we know cos 0 is 1 and cos 180 is minus 1. So what is the change in flux d phi equal to phi 2 minus phi 1? That is BA minus of minus BA. And this occurs in a given interval of time. Time will be mentioned in the question. Divide with the time given. will this give you the induced EMF? Okay, of course minus sign indicates it always opposes the cause of it. So what will be the induced EMF if you have rotated the coil through 180 degrees in a magnetic field? BA plus BA, magnitude I am writing, it is 2BA divided by T. So this is how you can find out the induced EMF when orientation is going to change. So three ways you can get the question: by changing the magnetic field, by changing the area, or by changing the orientation, that is theta. Okay, so in all the previous questions I told you how to get the induced EMF, but sometimes they give you resistance of the coil. Okay, if you know the resistance of the coil, you can find the current. Okay, how to get the current in the loop? Current in this coil will be EMF induced divided by resistance. Now if I write this current as dq by dt, 1 by R into induced EMF as d phi divided by dt. dt and dt is getting cancelled on either side. So the amount of charge flowing through the loop will be equal to change in flux divided by the resistance. So remember this formula when the question is about the transfer of charge or amount of charge flowing in the circular loop or the given loop. Is it equal to d phi divided by capital R? R is the resistance, d phi is the change in flux, and it is independent of time. Okay, so if time interval, that means if you are, suppose the question is like this, a ring is placed in a magnetic field, its area is capital A. What is the amount of charge flowing through the loop if you remove the ring in 2 seconds and when you remove the ring in 4 seconds? That means the time interval is different. But does the charge flowing in the ring depend on the time at all? It's independent of time. Then your answer should be same charge is going to flow whether you remove it slowly from the magnetic field or quickly from the magnetic field. So this is one more point where you may get some questions. Based on calculation of EMF, sometimes they may give you a very simple question like flux varying with time equation will be given. Say flux varies according to the equation 3t square plus 4t Webers plus 5. Some equation will be given and you will be asked to find out the induced EMF. Okay, how to get the induced EMF? d phi by dt. Differentiated 6t plus 4 with a minus sign. Okay, will give you the induced EMF. Okay, if time is given, put the value of t and then that will give you the amount of induced EMF. And if resistance is given, divide this with resistance. Okay, you will be in a position to calculate the current if it is a closed loop. So this type of questions are simple and based on this even graphs will be given. Okay, sometimes flux versus time graph. Okay, instead of giving you the equation, flux is varying with time according to this relation. Okay, data will be provided. Then identify the induced EMF. See, when the flux is increasing, you get the induced EMF. Is slope the measure of induced EMF? When flux is constant, EMF induced will be 0. Again, when the slope is decreasing, there will be some induced EMF. Or giving flux versus time graph, they may ask you what is induced EMF. So this type of questions are basic level questions which you can easily answer. Okay, now coming to questions related to identifying the direction of induced current. Okay, in various situations you will be asked to identify the direction of induced current. Let us start with the first question. So look at this arrangement. Okay, the north pole of the magnet is brought close to a circular loop of wire and they are asking you to identify in which direction will the current be induced. Okay, and when you are giving the direction, be careful, you have to give the direction from which side the question is being asked, because answers will be different when you view the coil from this side and when you view the coil from opposite side. So I am giving the direction from the side of the magnet. See, when you move the north pole of the magnet towards it, then I will give you a method to identify the induced current. Okay, look at this method, remember this rule. Put your thumb in the direction of magnetic field, thumb of your right hand in the direction of magnetic flux. Okay, second step is check whether the flux is increasing or decreasing. If the flux is increasing, invert your thumb. Curl of fingers will give you the direction of induced current. And if the flux is decreasing, do not invert your thumb. Curl of fingers will give you the direction of induced EMF. Again, I am repeating the statement. put the thumb in the direction of flux. Check whether it is increasing or decreasing. If increasing, invert your thumb of the right hand. Curl will give you the direction of induced current. If it is decreasing, do not invert. Keep the thumb as it is. Curl of fingers will give you the direction of induced EMF. Let's see how to apply this rule. Okay, to apply this, start with the first question. Okay, we know this is your magnetic flux emerging away from North Pole towards the south outside the magnet. Put your thumb in the direction of magnetic flux. I have kept the thumb of my right hand in the direction of magnetic flux. And when you are moving the magnet closer, the flux is increasing. Increasing, invert your thumb. Curl the fingers. Curl of fingers will give you the direction of induced current. Okay, if I curl the fingers, this is how the current will flow. Or alternative method. We know when you move a north pole closer, what pole will be induced on the face facing the magnet? North pole. Give arrows according to N. Is this the direction of current? So when you view it from the side of the magnet, the direction of current is anti-clockwise. From this side it is anti-clockwise. From opposite side it will be clockwise. So mention from which side you are showing the clockwise and anti-clockwise directions. Come to the second example. Exactly similar to this. If you move a north pole closer to a solenoid, the face of the solenoid will get north pole induced on it. If this is not, this side will be south. Give arrows according to S. This is coming down and going up. Coming down. Continue the direction. And going upward. This is how the current will be present. So instead of telling you anti-clockwise and clockwise, if they give you P and Q. So across PQ, what is the direction of current? It is flowing from Q to P. So this is how you can identify the direction of current. If magnets are given, when north pole is moved closer, north pole will be induced. If north pole moves away, south pole will be induced. So according to N and S, you can get the direction. But sometimes instead of giving a galvanometer, okay, they will give you two circular coils. Okay, look at this question. Two coils may be given. So this is one coil which is connected to a battery and a key. Along the same axis, I have connected one galvanometer. Okay, find the direction. Okay, first the key is closed. Will there be current in the primary coil? If the key is open, what is the direction of induced current in the second coil? How to get the direction? Curl the fingers of your right hand. Thumb gives the magnetic flux. This is how the magnetic flux is for this coil. When you remove or open the key, what will happen to the magnetic flux? Flux will decrease. Okay, again I am repeating. Magnetic flux is directed this side. When you are opening the key, flux is going to decrease. Just now I told you, put your thumb in the direction of flux. If it is decreasing, do not invert your thumb. Curl the fingers. This will be the direction of induced current. So when you open the key, current in the second coil will be having the same direction as that of current in primary coil. And when you suddenly, okay, the key is open. Okay, there is no current. If you close the key, is the flux suddenly increasing in the coil? Then what will be the direction of induced current in it? Opposite to this. If the current in primary coil is upward, this will have the current in opposite direction. Like closing and opening of the keys can also be given. Again I will repeat it. Put your thumb in the direction of flux. Check whether flux is increasing or decreasing. When you open the key, flux will decrease. Do not invert your thumb. Curl the fingers. Okay, curl of fingers. This is the direction of current. If the flux is decreasing, do not invert. If the flux is increasing, invert your thumb. Curl of fingers will give you the direction of induced current. So this is how you can identify the direction of induced current. Apply the same rule for these two cases. So there is a current carrying conductor placed below a circular loop of wire and this current is increasing. First put your thumb in the direction of current. Magnetic field is coming out of the plane of the paper. This is inward. If current is increasing, what happens to magnetic field also? Increases. Put the thumb of your right hand in the direction of magnetic field. Field is increasing. Invert your thumb. Curl the fingers. This is the direction of current. Come to this case. Current is flowing this side. What is the direction of magnetic field? Dot and cross. Put your thumb in the direction of magnetic field. Since current is decreasing, field is decreasing. Do not invert your thumb. Curl the fingers. This is the direction of induced current. See, the currents are opposite to each other. Here current is increasing and here current is decreasing. So look at this example here. So the first two coils, one is a square loop, another one is a circular loop. Both are coming out of the magnetic field with the same speed. What is the direction of induced current? And in which of these two cases more EMF will be induced? Area is also same. First let us find the direction. Already flux direction is given, field is inward. If you move it outward, flux will decrease. If flux is decreasing, do not invert your thumb. Curl the fingers. What is the direction? This is the direction of induced current. Second case also same. When it comes out of the magnetic field, flux is going to decrease. Put your thumb in the direction of cross. Do not invert your thumb because flux is decreasing. Curl the fingers. This is the direction. Now in which of these two cases more EMF will be induced? Okay, EMF induced is uniform in case of square loop, because square loop comes out covering equal area in equal intervals of time. Whereas when a circular loop is coming out of the magnetic field, okay, if I draw these vertical lines equidistant, is it having a uniform area coming out at uniform time? No, areas are different. First area will increase and area will decrease. So EMF induced will be more in circular coil when compared with a square coil. Come to the triangle. It's coming outside to inside. So if it is entering the magnetic field, put your thumb inward. It is increasing. What did I tell you? If flux is increasing, invert your thumb. Curl of fingers. Okay, it will be anti-clockwise. These two we have got clockwise currents. Here we have got anti-clockwise currents. So this is how you can identify the direction of induced current, okay, by making use of the thumb rule, or you can also use Fleming's right hand rule. Okay, now coming to questions related to motional EMF. Okay, so when we have studied that when you place a metal rod PQ in a perpendicular magnetic field. Okay, I have taken the magnetic field into the plane of the paper, and if this metal rod is made to move with a uniform speed, what is the induced EMF equal to? So if you are moving with it with a speed V, induced EMF is given as B into L into V. Okay, where L is the length of the metal rod. And if velocity is not perpendicular to the magnetic field, okay, suppose I have given the direction in some other way, resolve V into components and take the component which is perpendicular to magnetic field. So is this the induced EMF in the rod PQ? And how to identify the direction of induced current? If I keep this rod in a metal frame, on a metal frame, and you are moving it on this long metal frame, there will be current induced in the loop. If the total resistance of the loop is R, how to write the induced EMF? Induced current, it should be BLV divided by R. EMF is B into L into V. Current will be BLV divided by R. Current is possible if it is a closed circuit. And now once you know the current, there is a current flowing in this loop. How to get the direction of that induced current? By using Fleming's right hand rule. Put your forefinger in the direction of field. If thumb is the direction of velocity, then middle finger indicates the direction of current. So using Fleming's right hand rule, I have got the current as anti-clockwise. And once you know the current, which end of the rod is positive and which end of the rod is negative, cut the conductor. Current always flows from positive to negative. So this end is positive and this end is negative. Again I repeat, once you know the direction of current, cut the metal rod. Then remember, current always flows away from positive towards a negative. So current is P end is positive, Q end is negative. And once it is a current carrying conductor moving in a magnetic field, it experiences a magnetic force. What is magnetic force? BIL sine theta. So I am writing it as B into I into L into sine 90 is anyway 1. So substitute the current in it, you will get B square L square into V by R. So while you are moving this conductor, in which direction is the magnetic force acting? To get the direction of magnetic force, we will use Fleming's left hand rule. For induced current, right hand rule. For magnetic force, left hand rule. Field is inward. Velocity of the conductor is this side. Okay, you are moving it this way. Current is induced upward. Middle finger is current. What is my thumb pointing out? Towards left. Again I repeat, field is inward. Current is upward. Force is towards left. So you can observe when you are trying to move the rod this side, magnetic force is opposing your motion. It is not helping you, it is acting in the opposite direction. Since it is opposing you, to move this rod with a constant speed, you have to deliver or supply some power. What is the power that you have to supply? Power supplied by external agency to make it move with a constant speed is force into velocity. What is the force? B square L square V by R into V. That is B square L square V square divided by R. And let us see what is the power dissipated in the circuit. So you are delivering this much of power to the circuit. That means you are losing this much of energy. The system is gaining this energy. And that is converted into electrical energy. But when current passes through this resistance, what is the power lost by the circuit? We know power dissipated is I square into R. When you put I square into resistance, you will get the power lost as B square L square V square by R. Observe these two formulas. Both are same. So whatever energy you are supplying or whatever power you are losing to the system, it is converted into electrical energy and dissipated in the form of thermal energy. So is it in accordance with the conservation of energy? It is in accordance with conservation of energy. So remember these formulas for calculating the magnetic force, power supplied or power dissipated, and then induced EMF and induced current. So related to motional EMF, let us look into some numericals. Okay, now coming to questions related to a conductor falling in Earth's magnetic field. Okay, they will be giving you a metal rod whose length is L. Okay, so they will give the direction in which it is placed. Okay, say for example, I have taken a metal rod which is placed in west-east direction. Okay, east-west direction, I have a metal rod. If it starts falling freely, find out the induced EMF in the rod, which end is positive and which end is negative. Okay, to solve this type of questions, okay, first remember there are two components for Earth's magnetic field, BH and BV. What is the direction of horizontal component? BH is always directed from south to north. Okay, remember this. The horizontal component of Earth's magnetic field is directed from geographic south to north. Then vertical component is always acting in vertically downward direction. So at whichever place you stand, it passes through you. That is the direction of vertical component. What is the direction of the horizontal component? From south to north. Okay, now look at this question. A wire is placed in east-west direction, is falling freely. Whether there will be induced EMF in it or not, if so, which end is positive? So I have kept the wire in west-east direction. Okay, it's carrying, this is your length of the conductor. Velocity vector is downward. See, what is the direction of BV? Just now I told you. Vertical component is also downward. If V and BH are in same direction, no EMF is induced due to vertical component. What is the direction of horizontal component? South to north. It is directed towards me. Horizontal component is towards me. Velocity is downward. Length of the conductor is horizontal. Are all the three in mutually perpendicular directions? Then there will be induced EMF. So if the wire is in east-west direction, falling freely, then there will be an induced EMF due to horizontal component, not due to vertical component. So what is the magnitude of that induced EMF then? Wire is in east-west direction. Then induced EMF is BH into L into V. Which end is positive? Now make use of your Fleming's left hand rule. Horizontal component of Earth's magnetic field is towards me. Okay, if I show you this conductor, south to north, magnetic field is into the plane of the paper. Velocity is downward. Identify the direction by using Fleming's right hand rule. Field is inward. Velocity vector is downward. Thumb or middle finger is directed from here to here. If this is the direction, cut the wire. Current always moves away from positive towards negative. Current is shown this side. So which end is positive and which end is negative? Okay, if this is west and east. East end is positive. West end is negative. So this is how you can identify the polarity, okay, by making use of Fleming's left hand rule. Fleming's right hand rule. So this is one question. Okay, now look at this case. If the wire is in north-south direction, okay, not south to north or north to south direction and is falling freely, will there be induced EMF? See, BV is downward, velocity is also downward. So no EMF due to vertical component. BH is towards me, length of the conductor is also towards me. Since B and L are in same direction, no EMF is induced due to horizontal component. So will there be induced EMF if the wire is in north-south direction? No. Okay, since the thickness of the wire is very small, no EMF will be induced in a thin wire which is falling in north to south direction. If any other direction is given, say I will give you some other direction, it's not in west and east, okay, northeast direction. Okay, so this is how the conductor is inclined and it is falling freely. Then will there be induced EMF? First, split this conductor into two components, horizontal, vertical. Okay, I have taken in north-south, northeast direction. So remove this L into two components. One component will be in east-west. One component will be in north-south. I told you north-south, no EMF is induced. East-west, there is an EMF induced. So first resolve this length vector into two components, L cos theta and L sin theta. So due to horizontal component, there will be induced EMF. Then you will get cos 45 as additional term, BLV into cos 45. Okay, which component is inducing? Horizontal component is inducing. So like this you can answer questions of wires falling in Earth's magnetic field. For that, remember these two directions. Horizontal component is always from south to north, geography. Vertical component will always act in vertically downward direction. Sometimes you may be given a question where a plane is moving. What is the EMF induced across the ends of the wing? Okay, so assume that the pen is a body of the plane and this is the wing. Okay, wings of the plane are perpendicular to the body. If the plane is moving horizontally, this is the velocity vector. This is your length vector. Are they perpendicular to each other? They are. And now look at which component can induce EMF. Vertical component of Earth's magnetic field. Is it passing through this blue pen in vertically downward direction? BV is acting down. Length is towards me. Velocity is horizontal. So which component can induce EMF? Vertical component. So if the plane is moving, the EMF induced. Okay, if the plane moves this side, west to east, wingspan is into the plane of the paper. This is your velocity vector. Length is outside the plane of the paper. BV is acting downward. Okay, if the length of the wing is L, okay, or the wingspan is given as L, what is induced EMF equal to? BV into L into V. It is a vertical component which will induce which will induce EMF. Okay, look at these two questions based on motional EMF. In the first question, they have given you a semicircular wire which is placed in a magnetic field. Strength of the magnetic field is B. if this loop starts falling down with a velocity v, the question is to find out what is the induced EMF. So since the wire is bent in the form of a semicircle, so replace the wire with a metal rod PQ. Whatever is the induced EMF in PQ, the same will be the induced EMF in the circular rod. So replace it with one straight current carrying conductor. Now we know what is the length of this PQ equal to 2R. If the length of the rod is 2R, magnetic field is into the plane of the board and it is falling down with a velocity v. Length is on the plane of the board, field is perpendicular to the plane of the board, velocity is in the perpendicular, the downward direction. So what should be the induced EMF in this semicircular rod? Same as induced EMF in PQ, that is B into L. Length of the conductor is 2R. With what speed is it falling down? V. Which end is positive? Use the Fleming's right hand rule. Field is inward, velocity vector is downward, middle finger is directed from P to Q. Remember, whenever you are giving the direction of current, current flows from P to Q. Okay, cut this. Current always flows away from positive towards negative. So P end is negative, Q terminal is positive. Okay, just because current is flowing from P to Q, don't give P as positive and Q as negative. Inside the battery, current always flows from negative terminal to positive terminal because this loop itself behaves as a battery. So which end is negative? P is negative, Q is positive. Q end is positive. That's why always cut the conductor. After getting the direction of current, current always flows away from positive towards negative. Now look at the next question. Okay, here they have given you two rectangular frames. They are moving towards each other with a speed v. Okay, length of this is L and length of this is L. What is the induced EMF? Since both the systems are moving towards each other with the same speed, what is the relative velocity of approach for them? Is it 2v? V and V in opposite direction, relative velocity will become 2v. So what will be the induced EMF in this metal rods? B into L into 2v. So the induced EMF will be doubled because the area is decreasing at the rate, double the rate at which they are moving. Okay, look at this question. It is given that there is a metal rod PQ whose length is L and mass is M. It is placed on a rectangular frame containing a capacitor. Okay, we have applied a magnetic field, a constant or a uniform magnetic field into the plane of the board. Magnetic field is given as B. Okay, I will name this rod as PQ whose length is N. A constant force is applied to pull the rod along the horizontal. And for this arrangement, they are asking you to find out what is the acceleration of the rod. Again, I am repeating, a metal rod is placed. If you are pulling it with a force F is constant, find the acceleration of this rod. Okay, we know whenever you move a metal rod in a perpendicular magnetic field, okay, there will be EMF induced in it. What is the induced EMF? It is B into L into V. Length of the conductor is given as L. And when there is current in it, okay, so this EMF will go and charge the capacitor. During charging of the capacitor, there will be a current in the circuit. And because of that current I, okay, if I take the current as equal to I, will there be a magnetic force which opposes your motion? The direction of current will always be such that it opposes your applied force. So what is the net force acting on the conductor now? Net force is applied is F, opposing is magnetic force. Okay, and we know magnetic force. Is it B into I into L? We know the magnetic field, we know the length of the conductor. But we do not know what is the current in the circuit. To get the current, I will use the charge on the capacitor. What is the charge on the capacitor equal to? C into E. Okay, where E is the EMF. I will write the motional EMF as B into L into V. But we need current. Differentiate this relation. dq by dt. C constant. Magnetic field is constant. Length is also constant. dv by dt. Will dv by dt give me acceleration? So what should this relation be? BCl into A. Come back to this. M into A. M into A. Force is constant. This is your applied force. Opposing force is B into L into, what is the current we have got? BCl into A. So BCl into acceleration. B square L square. Bring all A's on one side. M into A plus B square L square C into A should be equal to capital F. Implies, if you take out acceleration common, what is the acceleration? It is F by M plus B square L square into C. So this term is going to give you the acceleration of the metal rod. Okay, how to find the induced EMF when a metal rod is rotated in a perpendicular magnetic field or spokes of a cycle. Okay, when a cycle is rotating in a magnetic field, what is the induced EMF between the center and the rim of a wheel? Okay, for such type of questions, first let us derive the relation. Say this is a metal rod, okay, and you are rotating it about an axis passing through one end of the rod. Okay, and there is a magnetic field directed into the plane of the paper. Okay, we know whenever you rotate it across one end, okay, so this is how it is going to rotate. Is it sweeping some area with respect to time? So rate of change of area will give you the induced EMF. So how to get the induced EMF? d phi by dt. Okay, of course minus sign. Flux I will write it as B into A. d by dt of B dot A. Magnetic field is constant into dA divided by dt. So if this rod completes one circle, what is the total area covered equal to? Pi r square divided by time taken. Can I write it as time period of rotation? So what will be your induced EMF? B into area covered for one rotation is BL square. Time taken is capital T. And if you write this capital T as frequency, when reciprocal 1 by T as frequency, you can write it as F. If your answer is in terms of omega, okay, then you can write it as B into pi into L square by 2 pi by omega. Pi and pi gets cancelled. Okay, this is in terms of time period or frequency. In terms of omega, what is the induced EMF? B L square omega divided by 2. So this will be your induced EMF, provided you are rotating it about one end. But remember, if you are rotating it about one end, they may sometime ask you which end is positive and which end is negative. How to know which end is positive and which end is negative? Suppose you are rotating it in clockwise direction. This is your metal rod. I'll name this as P and Q. Field is directed inward. At this instant, it is moving downward. Use the Fleming's right hand rule. Field is inward, velocity is down, current is from P to Q. If current flows from P to Q, cut the wire away from positive towards negative. So which end is positive here? Q is positive and P end is negative. So this is how you can identify the polarity. And if it is a cycle with n number of spokes like this, so there is a magnetic field perpendicular to the bicycle. All these are spokes. Then each metal rod will get an induced EMF of BL square omega by 2. So now we have n number of batteries like this, as many as the spokes. All the negative terminals, are they connected to center? And all the positive terminals to the wheel. How are all the batteries connected in parallel combination? Since all the batteries are in parallel combination, even if you have 100 spokes, what is the net EMF equal to? EMF of one cell, that is BL square omega by 2. Cells in parallel combination will give you equivalent EMF as only E if they are identical. So instead of spokes of a cycle, they may give you a metal disc. Okay, this is a disc whose radius is capital R, and you are rotating it about the central axis in a perpendicular magnetic field. Then this disc can be divided into number of spokes like this. A large number of metal rods combine to form a disk. Is it similar to the previous case? What will be the induced EMF? Half BL square omega. Answer is not going to change. So this will be your induced EMF even if it is a disk which is rotating about its center in a perpendicular magnetic field. Related to self and mutual inductance. Okay, how do we define the self inductance of a coil? Okay, self inductance is defined as two ways you can define it. It is a flux linked per unit current in the primary or in the same coil, or you can also write it as it is the induced EMF when rate of change of current in the coil is unity. Okay, two ways of defining self inductance, either phi by I or it is EMF divided by di by dt. See, from this relation you can write induced EMF as, okay, minus sign will be according to Lenz's law, L into di divided by dt. And we have calculated the self inductance of a solenoid. What is the self inductance of a solenoid? Mu naught N1 N square A into L. If you are writing it as small n, number of turns per unit length, mu naught is the permeability of the free space, N square A into L. But if the solenoid is filled with a medium, then we will write mu R into mu naught N square A into L. So this will be your self inductance of a solenoid. Then coming to mutual inductance. Okay, how did we define mutual inductance of one coil with respect to another? It is a flux induced in second coil when current in the primary coil is 1 unit, or it is the induced EMF in the secondary coil when rate of change of current in the primary coil is unity. So this is how we have written the mutual inductance. Anyway, mu12 will always be equal to mu21. So what is the mutual inductance for two solenoids? Okay, if one solenoid is inside the other, then mutual inductance we have proved that it is mu naught N1 N2 A into L. Okay, when the two solenoids are of different area and different length. While calculating the mutual inductance, take care, area should always be the smaller because flux is common for smaller area, and length should always be the longer length. Again I repeat, in mutual inductance if the coils are of two different sizes, then always take smaller area and longer length while calculating the mutual inductance. This is for two solenoids. But if it is mutual inductance of two circular loop of wires, concentric circular coils. Okay, this is having a number of turns, capital N1, radius is R1, outer one N2, radius is R2. Then pass current through the outer coil, let the current in the outer coil be I. Okay, how to find the mutual inductance of two square coils, concentric squares. Say I have a bigger square loop of length L, and at the center we have placed one more square loop whose length is small n. Okay, find the mutual inductance between them. Okay, to calculate the mutual inductance, here L is given much greater than small n. Okay, only then the magnetic field at the center will remain constant. So first let us find out what is the magnetic field at the center of this smaller square. Okay, because of the bigger loop. Okay, we know the magnetic field at the center is 4 times mu naught I. Okay, I am passing current through this, let the current be equal to I by 4 pi into perpendicular distance L by 2. Sin alpha plus sin beta, sin 45 plus sin 45. Okay, I am calculating the magnetic field at the center due to this square loop. Okay, magnetic field becomes 4 and 4 gets cancelled. Sin 45 is 1 by root 2 plus 1 by root 2. Okay, it will be 2 by root 2. So 4 by root 2 mu naught I by pi into L. Okay, nothing but 2 root 2 mu naught into I divided by pi into L. Now what is the flux linked with the inner loop? Can we write flux in the second loop or the inner loop as magnetic field in the outer loop produced by the outer loop into area of the smaller loop? So write this, B1 is equal to 2 root 2 mu naught I divided by pi L into area of the smaller loop. I will write it as small L square. So we have calculated the flux and this is the current. Ratio gives you the mutual inductance. So phi 2 by I1. What is it equal to? 2 root 2 mu naught L square by pi into capital L. So this gives me the mutual inductance of one square loop inside the other. So how is it related to L square and capital L? Capital M is proportional to square of small l, inversely related to capital L. So sometimes only proportionality may be asked. Okay, if proportionality asked, you can remember mu is proportional to L square divided by capital L. Okay, so sometimes you may get a question like this. Okay, there is a square loop whose side is equal to A placed very close to a conductor at a distance x as shown in the figure. Then find out the mutual inductance of this two system. Okay, the system of a wire and a square loop. Okay, to calculate the mutual inductance, so let us start with taking a small region here. Okay, I'll consider a small region of this thickness dr, which is at a distance r from the wire. Will there be a magnetic field passing through this small square region? Find out what is the magnetic field. Okay, I want the flux passing through my shaded portion. Okay, we know flux is B into area. B into, what is the area of the shaded portion I have selected? Thickness is dr, so I will write the area as A into dr. Now let us find the magnetic field. Okay, we know magnetic field due to an infinite long wire is mu naught I divided by 2 pi r into A into dr. So we have got the flux passing through the shaded portion. I want the total flux, okay, where the limits are extended from x to x plus A. So differentiate or integrate the relation. Total flux passing through the loop. Mu naught is constant, I constant, A constant, 2 pi also constant. Integral of dr by r. What are the limits? From where to where? X to x plus A. So the total flux phi is equal to mu naught I A by 2 pi. Integral of 1 by r into dr is log r. What are the limits? X to x plus A. Put the limits. Phi is equal to mu naught I A by 2 pi log x plus A minus log x. I will write it as log of x plus A divided by x. Or you can also write it as, or leave the answer like this. Instead you can write it as 1 plus A by x. So is this giving me the flux? Divide with current. What is phi by I equal to? Mu naught A by 2 pi log 1 plus A by x. So this is going to give me the mutual inductance. So what is the mutual inductance of a long straight wire followed by a square loop? Mu naught A by 2 pi into log 1 plus A by x. So this is how you can get the answer. Okay, in this question, okay, one question is to find out the mutual inductance. Sometimes the question can also be, what is the induced EMF? Okay, for this arrangement, if this square loop starts moving with a constant speed away from this long straight current carrying conductor, determine what is the induced EMF. Okay, how to get the induced EMF? Because already you have calculated the flux. Okay, one step ahead of it. Differentiate the relation. We know d phi by dt will give you induced EMF. Differentiate it. Look at this relation. What is d phi by dt equal to? Mu naught constant, I constant, A constant, 2 pi is constant. Okay, differential of log of, okay, I'll write it as 1 plus A by x. What is differential of log x? 1 by 1 plus A by x. Don't stop. Again, differential of 1 plus A by x square. What is differential of 1 plus A by x square? Differential of 1 is 0. Differential of A by x is minus A by x square into dx by dt. See, I have differentiated this relation to get the induced EMF. If mutual inductance is asked, phi by I will give you mutual inductance. If they ask you what is induced EMF, I have differentiated the relation. After differentiating, what is your induced EMF coming out to be? Okay, minus sign also I will take out common. Mu naught I. A into A becomes A square by 2 pi x square into 1 plus A by x. Dx by dt is nothing but V. So this gives you the EMF induced. So if the speed of the coil is constant, then induced EMF is given by this relation. Okay, now inductors in series and parallel. Okay, if two inductors are given connected in series, L1 and L2, and if there is no coupling between them, that means if the coefficient of coupling, how do we define coefficient of coupling? K is equal to the ratio of mutual inductance to square root of L1 into L2. So we know if there is completely coupled, then the value of K will be equal to 1. That means the flux of one coil, if it is completely entering the second, coupling constant is taken as equal to 1. If there is no coefficient of coupling between them, the value of K is 0. So if two inductors L1 and L2, okay, with mutual inductance we will consider, having a mutual inductance M, are connected in series. What is the equivalent mutual inductance given by L1 plus L2 plus or minus 2M? Okay, series and parallel combination of inductors. I am not going to show you the derivation. Remember the formulas. If two inductors are in series and they are completely coupled with a mutual inductance capital M between them, then L equivalent is L1 plus L2 plus or minus 2M. If M is 0, you can remove it. You will use a plus sign if current is in same direction. If current in second coil is opposite to the direction of current in first, then it will be L1 plus L2 minus 2M. So make use of this relation for inductors in series. For inductors in parallel, okay, what will be your formula? If L1 and L2 are their self-inductances and mutual inductance is M, then what is L equivalent in parallel combination? L1 L2 minus M square by L1 plus L2 plus or minus capital M. Okay, where M is the mutual inductance, and if mutual inductance is 0, we can write it as 1 by L equivalent is equal to 1 by L1 plus 1 by L2. But in the presence of mutual inductance, we will make use of this relation. If current in the coils is in same order, this will have a minus sign. Reverse order, you will take a plus sign. Coming to an AC generator, okay, we have seen that when a rectangular loop of wire is placed and rotated in a perpendicular magnetic field, okay, we get the induced EMF as, okay, what is the flux linked with the loop? B into A into cos omega t. If there are n number of turns, we will write it as n. Okay, remember it? A coil, if you place it between the poles of a magnet, flux linked with the coil is BAN into cos theta. Theta I have written as omega into t. So if you rotate it with an angular velocity omega, there is a change in flux. When you differentiate this relation, what is d phi by dt coming out to be? BAN, differential of cos omega t is minus sin omega t into omega, or we get induced EMF as BAN omega into sin omega t. Is this sinusoidally varying with time? What do you call the EMF which is sinusoidally varying with time? As an alternating EMF. And this term BAN into omega, we call it as the peak value of EMF. So it is not necessary that always they have to give you a rectangular coil. Sometimes they give you a circular coil is rotated. What is the peak value of EMF induced? Peak value is BAN into omega. And what is average value of EMF induced? Okay, what is the average value of EMF? Average of sin omega t is 0. So average value will always be 0. Sometimes they ask you what is the power dissipated. Okay, for one cycle. The average power dissipated for one cycle. Is it nothing but E square divided by R? Which value you will consider here? The RMS value. Okay, take the RMS value which is E naught by root 2 average power dissipated will be E RMS square divided by the resistance. So like this, questions on AC generator will be generally based on calculating the peak value or on average value.